Hello, everyone, and anyone interested in unlocking the secrets of immortality. I, of course, know nothing about that other than you should probably avoid jumping off a cliff unless you're really sure you are immortal and can fly, or at the very least have exhibited indestructible qualities in the past through tests which can include but are not limited to jumping in front of a car, fighting a
You
shark,
think you're
or
the expert?
jumping
Let's see
off
how
a
much your
cliff.
ass knows about flying. Yeah! That's what I'm talking about.
You done? Because that took forever.
I am forever. I am immortal!
No!
While discussing the secrets of immortality and indestructibility is all well and good, the focus of this video is on a much more specific subject. That's right, I'll be talking about a game centered around vampires and their wars. That game is Immortal Realms Vampire Wars. In case you didn't figure that out from the title of the video. Alright, so cutting this game apart, it basically has elements of grand strategy in line with what you'll find in the Total War series, but the combat itself, unlike the Total War series games, is turn-based. So more in line with something like Age of Wonders, Fantasy General 2, or Warhammer 40k Sanctus Reach. I suppose you could throw in games like XCOM and the recent Gears Tactics in there, but those turn-based games, that is the ones where you're imagined to be commanding a group of single units, feel different than the turn-based games where you're imagined to be commanding an entire army and you're controlling specific battalions or companies within that greater army. There's also a card system which allows you to make moves during the grand strategy portion of the game that range from healing your army to recruiting units without spending your army's action points. That's the points that you're allowed to use while you're moving your unit around in the grand map. You can also purchase equipment for your hero units and improve buildings in your provinces, so you can grow a province population and then feed off of them, or you can allow it to grow depending on your faction, which will feed into the passive, which will give you passive income, blood income, which is used to purchase, basically make any other kind of move during the grand strategy portion of the game. The game's main campaign is entertaining. You play through the story of three different factions: the Dracul, which disappointingly had very little to do with Dracula; the Nosfernis, whose leader does look a lot like Nosferatu from the 1992 film; and the Moria, who come off as an unholy result of a line of interbreeding between fairies, elves, and vampires. The story itself seems similar, or familiar, that is. You start off as an unwitting commander, the wife of Dracul, who sets in motion a series of events that lead to the resurrection of an ancient evil. In response to that ancient evil, an equally ancient enemy of that evil reveals itself. The specifics of the story are not groundbreaking. If I was going to nitpick, I would say a lot of it is pretty cliche, but it's not eye-rollingly cliche. That is, you might have seen this kind of story or story arc, but if you previously found it entertaining, this this particular iteration provides enough that you might just find it entertaining this time around again. One final note on the factions: the Dracul can easily be called the Corn faction, as they basically seek blood for the Blood God and have a red color scheme. The Nosfernius come off as Nurgle worshippers. They bring pestilence and are big on blight and have a green color scheme. And the Moria likely worship Zinch with their bluish color scheme and their interest in the arcane and magic. All this is to say that the game does have a weird connection to the Warhammer. It does not have a connection to the Warhammer universe, but it is reminiscent of the Chaos factions in the Warhammer universe. So if at the end they would have revealed that this was actually all just part of a greater battle between the Chaos gods, and those Chaos guards happen to be Khorne, Zinch, and Nurgle, I wouldn't have been surprised. There isn't much to say about the game's sandbox mode. If you like the campaign and enjoyed the gameplay, then the sandbox provides the opportunity to play the game under a few different victory conditions and in a more open-ended fashion than the campaign. I mean, it's what you'd expect from a sandbox mode. There were a few technical issues that I came across as I was playing, so the majority of my gameplay experience is from the initial release of the game, that is version 1. I know it had a recent update, so maybe these technical issues could have already been addressed, but because I played most of the game as version 1, I'm going to mention it in this video. So, the first and most annoying was the game screen tearing. It was interesting in that it could occur in isolated portions of the grand strategy map or during tactical battles. Sometimes I had to completely exit the game and start it up again for the tearing to go away, and other times it corrected itself. The game also slowed to a snail's crawl on a few different occasions, and like the tearing would occur as I scrolled through portions of the overworld map, the grand strategy map, or in the tactical battles. The overworld slowing wasn't too bad as it tended to speed back up after a tactical battle, but when it happened on the tactical battle, that was really annoying to the point where I had no interest in playing through the battles. So I tended to turn off the game, restart the game, and the issue would fix itself as other than those two things, which isn't a statement to downplay those two things. The game ran fine, and on the occasions that these two situations would arise, restarting the game fixed it. The game just came across as okay. There wasn't anything there that stood out as exceptional, but there also wasn't anything there, aside from the previously mentioned technical issues, that made me say, wow, this is bad. I really enjoyed the art design of the game. The maps were appropriately atmospheric, but they could have benefited from a little greater variety, as I did encounter the same maps in supposedly different regions. The variety in units for the individual faction was good, but when compared across all three factions, I did initially think that they were the same units just with different models. But I eventually did come to appreciate the differences in unit variety from faction to faction. The hero units are appropriately strong enough to shift the tide of battle without being able to single-handedly defeat an entire army, depending on the army's composition, on their own. The game's music and sound effects are appropriate, and the voice acting grew on me. None of these things were exceptional, but they contributed to the overall okay and entertaining experience of the game. Ultimately, if you're interested in a vampire themed game with elements of grand strategy and tactical turn-based combat, then this game is like watching a show of your favorite genre in your favorite genre. Not necessarily a good or a bad show, simply a show where there is enough, primarily as a product of the genre itself, to hold your interest for some time, but not enough to keep you engaged for more than a single watching or in this case playthrough. What does that translate to in terms of a numerical score? Around the high two. I figure a 2.8 would suffice out of 5. I mean, it would be a 3, which to me means it's a standard affair, but those technical issues, as few and as fixable as they were, prevented me from giving it that full 3. But because there were few and for the most part readily addressable, I don't think it warranted too harsh of a ding. However, I did buy the game on sale. I got it for about $25, and I know it's currently priced around $40 without a sale or discount. At that price, I can't say it's worth it. Look for a discount, and if you can find it for under $30 and the whole vampire theme, plus the grand strategy, plus the tactical combat falls in line with your preferences, then go for it. As for myself, I definitely wouldn't have bought it for anything more than I did, and even at that price, I still felt a little underwhelmed. Anyways, that's about it, so thanks for watching, and till next time.